Welcome to your academy. At your academy today in this lecture, we will deal with application of Marxism on Hard Times by Charles Dickens. Now, we have been going through this series of application of theories on different texts. We have dealt with deconstruction, we have dealt with postmodernism. Now we are up with Marxism. As we have already said in other lectures which have been on this topic of application of theory, and I reiterate the same statement here, that whenever we try to apply a theory on a particular text, there are certain things that you need to keep in mind. And one of the important questions that we need to answer at the very onset before we start application of theory is what does that particular theorist do? For example, when we were applying the deconstruction, we said what does a deconstructionist do? Or when we were dealing with postmodernism, we said what does a postmodernist critic do? Now when we are dealing with Marxism, we will say what does a Marxist critic do? Now this is the first question that we need to answer. And once we know that this is what Marxist critic does, it is only then we will be able to find the examples of the Marxism or this theory from a particular text. So here also we will try to find what does Marxist critic do. And in this particular question also lies what are the fundamentals of that theory. Once you know, it means you know the fundamentals of a particular theory. You know the basic principles of that particular theory which you are applying. And if you know that, it would be very easy for anyone applying a theory on this text. So here also, though we would be applying this Marxism on hard times, you can apply this on any, for example, death of a salesman. You can apply this theory on a tale of two cities, and you can find, a number of works which you can study from the lens of Marxism. But here, as an example, we would take hard times, and I hope by the end of this lecture, you will have understood the trait of applying a theory on a text, and you can choose any text of your liking and apply Marxism on it. So, what does a Marxist critic do? Here I'll tell you some of the things that Marxist critic does. We have got other lectures also on your academy concerning Marxism. We have Introduction to Marxism. We have a lecture on Raymond Williams. We have a lecture on Louis Althusser. We also have lectures coming up on Marxism. There would be a series of lectures on your academy which you can refer to, and once you have gone through those lectures, understanding this lecture will become more easy, because application always comes at the end of understanding a complete theory. But presuming that you know Marxism and now just brushing it up, refreshing those ideas and concepts of those fundamentals that you already know, let's start the application of theory and let's find the answer to this question, that what does a Marxist critic do? Here is what a Marxist critic does. Marxist critic talks about the material existence of a man with reference to the historical reality or the historical existence or the historical circumstances. This is one of the basic fundamental or aspect of Marxism. Whenever Marxist talks about you, me, our society, they would talk about these two things. Material existence with reference to the historical reality. Now, what is material existence? Material existence is base. Now, here you understand that base in superstructure model. That comes to your mind. Just, different terms, but it is basically the same thing. So, it talks about base and superstructure. What is base? Base is our material existence. It includes the modes of production. It includes the economics of a particular time. Our relationship with this, our material existence, we as a student, we as teachers, we as employees, we as laborers. This is our material existence. This is what we do when we are in the society. We have a relationship to the material existence. And this material existence produces a historical reality. Our historical circumstance are our historical existence. What is this historical existence? This would be the superstructure. This would be our social life, ideological life, and political life. So basically, the basic fundamental of Marxism would be base and superstructure. It talks about base and superstructure. It talks about the relationship between base and superstructure. It talks about our relationship with the base and our existence in the superstructure. How they are related, how they work in a society. And if you understand or if you know about the base and superstructure, which I don't intend to explain in this particular lecture, presuming that you know how base and superstructure model works, you just understand that this is what a Marxist critic does. He looks at this base and superstructure model. He looks at our material existence with reference to our historical reality. That is one of the aspects of Marxist theory. So when you are applying the Marxist theory on a text, you will find, is there anything being said about the material existence of a person and the influence or effect of the material existence upon him, and then his relationship to the ideology, to the political class, to the social class, to his family. So you will try to find out those Marxist elements then and there. So superstructure would be about the historical circumstances, historical reality. And this superstructure is also generated by the economic class. So in this whole process, economic class, our economic circumstances becomes very important. And this economic power is not, or this economy word in Marxism is not now only related to the modes of production, but it includes everything. It includes social, it includes political, it includes economic. That is why you will find most of the modern Marxist critics, they refer to the socio-economic circumstances rather than social circumstances separately and economic circumstances separately. They believe that this is socio-economy, the socio-economic existence of a person is very important, and they try to study and understand that particular thing. So it works on base and superstructure, and it includes everything, the socio-economic hub of our society or of all the individuals. And this is what these Marxist critics do. There is another things that Marxist critic does. He looks for class struggle. As you read Karl Marx, you will find class struggle. You read Raymond Williams, you will find class struggle. You read Louis Althusser, you will find class struggle. So class, or even Georges Lukács, you will find class struggle, class consciousness. So most of these people talk about class struggle. So class struggle is again an important aspect of Marxist theory. So if you are looking in a text and you find different classes, for example, a rich man and a poor man, so they are two different classes. So they work with, they look for the class struggle in the context. So when they are looking for class struggle, there are always two classes according to Marxism: haves and have-nots. Those who own the things and those who own nothing. These are the two classes which have dominated the societies. And there are two special terms which Marxism employs for these different classes. For example, bourgeoisie is a term which they would use for haves. Those who have control over the natural resources, those who have control over the politics, those who have control over the economy, those who have control over the schools, institutions, everything, are those who have an ideology and they impose their ideology upon have-nots. So they will study this class struggle of haves and have-nots between bourgeoisie, and the term for have-nots is proletariat. And proletariat would be those men who do not have anything. Those who are actually the workers, manual workers, who work in different ways and manners in order to satisfy or help in enriching the riches, enriching the haves. These are the two classes. And there is always a struggle between them. It could be dormant, it could be active. For example, if you are reading A Tale of Two Cities, you will find this class struggle as active. That there the lower class goes up against the upper class, and all that 1789 revolution is all about that. But mostly this class struggle between two classes, proletariats and bourgeois, is dormant. It's not active always, because once it becomes active, then a revolution takes place. But you will find that the instances and examples of revolution are lesser in history comparatively, and in past few hundred years, we do not have had those much of revolutions, particularly in context of the classes. Proletariat class is happy with the exploitation of the upper class. That is another important fundamental aspect of bourgeois of Marxism, that it talks about bourgeois and proletariats. And proletariats are an important class. As Marxists would tell you, that it is the proletariats who would maintain the differences or identity of religion, gender, ethnicity, and other things. And these things do not, matter for bourgeois. They have got nothing to do with religion. They have got nothing to do with with your ethnicity, with your race, with your gender. There are no issues for them. The only issue for bourgeois is maintaining power, regaining power, or gaining power. Now, if someone has gained the power, they'll love to be in power. So they will work always for their power, and proletariats would always work for their custom. And this works well for bourgeois, for the ruling class. They feel that it's good that they are busy with them. You will never find a politician, a leader who is religious in the contemporary world. He has got nothing to do with religion. He has got nothing to do with race. He has got nothing to do with ethnicity. The only thing he is concerned with is power and ruling. And he will do anything to do that. And since the problem with the proletariats is that they are concerned with religion, race, ethnicity, gender, so they are divided. And this is in the interest of bourgeois class, in the interest of the upper class. They'll always let the proletariats to maintain these differences, to maintain these identities, and will never work towards, ending these things, because they know at the end of the day, when we are in the election, because it is that time or moment where they have to gain power and maintain power, where these things come in force or they use them. Another important aspect or fundamental of Marxism is alienated laborers. Alienated laborers, the other term that you will find about this is reification. What is this alienated labor? Marx will tell you that in capitalist society, in capitalist system, a laborer is alienated. He has got no relationship with his product. And the best example of this would be, say for example, there is an engineer, a software engineer, and he makes a mobile. He works for a company and there he makes a mobile. Once he makes a mobile, he is skilled to make mobile. But once he has made a mobile, he will hand this mobile over to the owner. For example, to the Mukesh Ambani, say for example, he's a capitalist. And then the relation between the worker, that is one who made mobile, and mobile is lost. This man who was skilled enough to make the mobile has got no control over the product that he made. And if he himself needs a mobile, he'll have to go back to the market, to a shop closer by, and purchase that same mobile which he made with his own hands at the price set by his owner. This is the alienation of the workers, of the laborers in the capitalist society which Karl Marx talks about. And this alienation is not limited to the products only, but to their family also, because Marxism also talks about exploitation of the laborers. When they are exploited, they are mentally, I won't use unstable, but rather I would say, occupied every time, with their work, with their products, with their managers, with their owners, and then they're alienated from their own products, and then they come back home. So they're alienated from everywhere, from their family, from their society, from their skill, from their products. And eventually they are exploited. They have got no rights at all. The exploitation of the laborers is the core, of Marxism, a core topic of Marxism that it deals with, that it talks about. And these men, that is this exploited class, hardly ever understands that they are being exploited. They let themselves be exploited. So there is the role of ideology. What is the role of ideology then in Marxist criticism? It is to maintain the rule of the ruling class. As you have read in Louis Althusser's theory of ideology, if you have not gone through, you can go through the lecture at your academy on the theory of ideology by Louis Althusser, how the ruling class uses ideological state apparatus and repressive state apparatus in order to maintain their rule, in order to maintain their power in our society, so that the exploited would allow them to get exploited, and the exploited always gets exploited. These are some of the important aspects which Marxist critic looks at when he studies a society, a culture, a film, or a text from Marxist lens. Now, I hope that you have found the answer to the question, what does Marxist critic do?